Have you ever had that feeling where it seems like no matter what you eat, you just end up bloated? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down a pretty incredible story about a year-long fight with chronic bloating and a discovery that honestly changed everything. Let's dive right in.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that awful, frustrating feeling that started this whole journey. It's that discomfort where you just know something isn't right after you eat. And I think a lot of us know exactly what that feels like.
And look, we're not talking about a once-in-a-while thing here. This was a daily struggle, a full, frustrating year of looking for answers, which, if you've been through it, probably sounds way too familiar.
I mean, the cycle was just relentless. Your clothes suddenly feel tight right after a meal, you're tired all the time, there's that awkward gas, and you have this gut feeling, no pun intended, that something is genuinely wrong. But you go to the doctor and they say, nope, all your tests are normal, everything's fine. And maybe the most maddening part, trying all the healthy stuff like eating giant salads and cutting out fat only seemed to make things so much worse. Does any of this ring a bell?
Okay, so this is where the story takes a really interesting turn. The deep dive into what was going on started to point a finger at some of the very foods we're always told are the best for us. Turns out, they might be the secret culprits.
And now leads us to this really powerful question, one that kind of flips everything we think we know upside down. What if the super healthy foods you're making an effort to eat are actually the real problem here? This idea was the first huge breakthrough. This chart shows one of the main culprits perfectly. So think about raw vegetables like the broccoli or cauliflower you'd find in a big salad. They've got these really tough fibers that your body has a hard time with. When those fibers get down into your gut, bacteria go to town on them, and that whole fermentation process, it produces gas, lots of it. But the solution is ridiculously simple. Just cook them. Cooking breaks those fibers down, which makes the vegetables way easier for your body to handle.
So raw vegetables were one big piece of the puzzle. But the second healthy enemy was fruit. And here's the twist. It wasn't about what fruit you were eating, but when.
The science here is surprisingly straightforward. See, fruit digests really fast. So if you eat it for dessert right after a big, heavy meal with proteins and starches, the fruit basically gets stuck in a traffic jam in your stomach. It's just sitting there waiting for its turn to be digested. And while it waits, you guessed it, it starts to ferment. And the result, yet again, is gas, bloating, and just feeling uncomfortable.
But here's the thing. While the raw veggies and bad fruit timing are triggers, they're not the actual root cause. The story found that there was something much deeper going on inside the body.
And it all comes down to your gut microbiome. The easiest way to think about it is like a little garden living inside your gut, full of both good and bad bacteria. This tiny ecosystem is basically mission control for your digestion. The problem is, when that garden gets all out of whack, even the best, healthiest food can suddenly cause huge problems.
So what throws this whole system out of balance? Well, it's pretty much the usual suspects of modern life, right? Things like taking antibiotics, eating a lot of processed foods, and of course, chronic stress. All of these things can seriously mess with that delicate little world inside of us.
Okay, so understanding the problem is one thing. But what about the solution? This is the really good part. The powerful multi-step plan that finally brought relief after a whole year of searching.
And the cornerstone of that solution, the one single food that really kicked off the transformation, was kefir. So what on earth is kefir? It's really just a fermented milk drink, and you can find it in pretty much any supermarket these days. Its real power, though, is what's inside. Billions and billions of good bacteria, probiotics, that get to work rebuilding and rebalancing your gut microbiome from the inside out.
Now, and this is super important, this was not an overnight miracle. You can see from the timeline that after the first week of drinking a small cup every morning, nothing much really changed. But then, in week 2, the bloating finally started to go down. And after a full month of being consistent, it was almost totally gone.
But kefir wasn't a magic bullet all by itself. It was the star player in a complete 4-part plan. So, number 1, a small cup of kefir every day. Number 2, switching to mostly cooked vegetables instead of raw. 3, eating fruit 30 minutes before a meal, never after. And finally, number 4 was to experiment a bit by cutting back on gluten for 2 weeks, just to see how it felt. That combination, that was the key.
And all of this brings us to what might be the most powerful takeaway from this whole journey. You do not have to just accept feeling uncomfortable every single day. It's not normal.
I really love this final thought. Bloating isn't your destiny. It is not something you just have to put up with for the rest of your life. It's a message.
It's your body sending you a really clear signal that something on the inside needs your attention.
And that really brings us to our final question for you to think about. What about your own experiences? Have you dealt with this kind of bloating? And what are some of the things you've tried? Because as this story shows, sometimes the real solution is way simpler and a lot more surprising than we ever would have guessed.